Hi, this is Benjamin, founder of Farmagain. Just 2 weeks back, July 11th to 15th, we were at Codicia Agri Exhibition in Coimbatore. A lot of farmers came and met me. Some Grotron users, some are not Grotron users. But what was common between the two groups, was that a lot of them have apparently tried a few techniques that I have spoken in many videos in the past, and some did find a few tips quite useful, and they have in fact expanded their farm based on the tips that I had shared in my videos. So, which was quite encouraging to me also personally. And most farmers did request me to continue sharing these kinds of technical inputs and tips so that they can benefit from what they hear from me. So that was quite encouraging, and I guarantee I will continue to do this for the near term. And recently, we also had a question from one of our farmers in Hyderabad. His name is Mr. Surya. You can watch him ask his question.
Hi, my name is Surya. I'm from Hyderabad. I'm doing organic farming for the past 2.5 years. We have close to 2 acres of land, and I'm doing remote farming with the help of a caretaker there. We give him guidance to how to take care of the farm and all. Our main primary concern is when we start farming, we have a lot of weeds coming up in our farm. Since it's a barren land from where we started farming, so lot of weeds have come up. At that time, we face lot of challenges. So the primary question that we have is like, whenever a new person comes into farming, how are we going to take care of this weed issues? So we tried a lot of options like having purchasing different agri equipments like weed cutter, brush cutter, power weeder, and all that. That helped to a certain extent, but the running cost and the maintenance of all those items are pretty much expensive for a new farmer. And if we have to do the weeding by hand, it involves like around 20 to 25,000 whenever we do the weeding. So, and with this, like once in 2 months or 3 months, if we have to do the weeding, so it is going to cost a lot to the farmer who's beginning his journey in the organic farming. So, having said that, we consulted a lot of other experts like how to take care of it. So, when we consulted, we were told that we have to cover the land with lot of mulching. So, in order to have lot of mulch, we need to have lot of plants in our farms, like the waste that we get from sugarcane or like subabul or different kinds of plants where we need to continuously cut it and put it as mulch. So the question next is like, if we have sufficient number of plants, we'll be able to get the mulch. Otherwise, it is going to be a big challenge for us again. So, is there any other better way in doing an organic way of farming so that like the number of weeds in our farm will be in a controlled manner when we grow new crops or new plants? Kindly help in addressing this concern, sir. Thank you.
So basically, he is an organic farmer having a plantation, and his irrigation method is rain hose irrigation. So fundamentally, when you do a rain hose irrigation, the entire area is going to be almost flooded. I mean, it is a modern way of flood irrigating. When you do a flood irrigation, you probably are flooding for a couple of inches of water, but here maybe a few probably 1 mm, 2 mm. In any case, it is also like a flood irrigation. So because of that, what happens? Two issues. Number one, the weeds are certainly out of control because the entire land is covered with water. So certainly weed control is impossible. That's one. Second, when you do rain hose irrigation for a plantation, the whole area gets wet, and when they get wet, right after irrigation is done, the place becomes totally saturated. So at a saturated condition, there is no air-water balance in the soil, and in the absence of air-water balance, photosynthesis is not effective. What you really want is your plants to be extremely effective in photosynthesis. So for that, the best method for you for plantation would be to go with drip irrigation, specifically with inline laterals. And you can use rain hose. I'm not saying rain hose is bad, but the application of rain hose could be very different. Say, for example, gardens, lawns, where you would typically see sprinklers being used. Rain hose is a beautiful option. But for a plantation, you may want to think twice before considering rain hose as the method of irrigation. So by not adopting to rain hose for plantation and going for drip irrigation, that itself is a big step towards weed control, because the weeds are going to grow only along the laterals not anywhere else. Now, when we talk about weed control itself or preventing weeds, there are a few methods. One, you can go for natural mulching. That's one method. So, how do you do natural mulching? Say, for example, if it is a coconut farm, you can take all the coconut waste, pulverize them, get them into a semi pieces like a powder or solids, spread them every time you have a harvest. All the remains you please pulverize, spread them across. So that forms a mulch. That is one way. You can also consider the waste remains of a banana or any bio remains can be used as mulch. That is one option. But when you exercise this option, there is one caution that you must keep in mind. And that caution is it is also a source of fungal infections, fungal diseases. So you must be very mindful of natural mulches. It is good because it is natural. It is going to convert itself into a beautiful compost. Good for you, good for the soil, but be mindful of the fungal issue. You'll have to watch out for it in case if you do notice any fungal emanating from those areas. You must take immediate precaution. So that's the only drawback with the natural mulch. And the second thing is, if it is a natural mulch, over a period of time, they are going to get decomposed and they will disappear. So you'll have to add more and more and more, which is actually good because good for the soil. One option. Option number two, mulch sheet. But I wouldn't actually say mulch sheet is an option for a plantation because it is good for vegetables because you will do a bed formation and you will lay mulch sheet on top of it. It is very unlikely that someone could walk over the mulch sheet in a vegetable farm on the beds. But in a plantation, walking over them will be necessary. Therefore, there is a chance that within a few days or weeks or months, they may get completely spoiled. So, mulch sheets for plantation is not something I would recommend. The third, probably in my opinion, the best option is weed mats. They're slightly expensive. Therefore, there are two ways people generally use weed mats. One, you can apply around the trees, just on top of the probable root zone area, so that the roots underneath are protected because there will be no weeds on top of them to compete with the actual plantation's root zone. So that's one way of implementing weed mats. The second method, which some people do, it is a little more expensive to do, is along the line of the laterals, they lay the weed mats to the entire stretch. Because it is laid across the entire stretch, it is slightly costly, but if it is feasible, I would say the best method because along the laterals, the roots are also going to form. In fact, the active root zone, the fibrous roots also will be formed along the laterals. Therefore, if it is feasible, it is the best option to lay along the laterals. And if it needs to be done economically, then around the trees are also fine. So these are some of the ways in which you can try weed control. So if you have any question, please do ask that question in the comments. We will try to respond to that as much as possible. And I hope this response to Mr. Surya would be helpful to him and maybe to some of you. And I would actually wait for Mr. Surya to implement some of these recommendations, and maybe 6 months or 1 year later, we can see if there was any improvement in his farm, and if so, maybe we can go there in person and see what the improvement was. Until we meet again in another video with more information, see you, Benjamin.